Good evening. Happy Saturday. This is Talking Sports with Evan, another Saturday edition of Talking Sports with Evan. But hey, this one is a live edition as my Wi Fi is cooperating, unlike it did a week ago. I should say it's cooperating currently. I guess you never really know with Wi Fi what's going to go happen and what's going to go on. But either way, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to Talking Sports with Evan, and a lot to discuss here today from things that happened in the past week in sports. The Rock returns to SmackDown, and I'm kind of confused on what's going on. Bobby Portis is set to miss now the next 24 games of the NBA season due to a positive drug test. Going to give some thoughts there. The Milwaukee Brewers played their first Cactus League game today, getting an 8-7 win over the Cincinnati Reds. And I'm going to give my thoughts on some Brewer topics that are being talked about, such as should they move Bryce Terang over to shortstop instead of second base. I'm going to give my thoughts there. And then Netflix is in the news. Netflix had some NFL games this year. Netflix has the rights to WWE Raw as of this past January 8th, or January 6th, correction, was the first edition of Raw on Netflix. And now it's sounding like the Netflix is potentially looking at a more than just a single Sunday afternoon package or more than just a Christmas Day package. They're looking at trying to get broadcasting rights from Fox or CBS, is what I saw on the internet here this week as well. And I got some thoughts there, as well as ESPN and Major League Baseball had a breakup. ESPN has been the Sunday home for Sunday Night Baseball for the longest time now, as long as I can remember. And at the end of the 2025 season, the MLB and ESPN are parting ways. ESPN unhappy with the broadcast revenue that they are getting from Major League Baseball. And I got some thoughts and concerns on what I think is going to end up happening with this breakup. First thing on my list of agenda, what I just laid out here for you, is Milwaukee Brewers. And I guess the main thing today I want to mention on the Brewers, they got the 8-7 win, first game without, and I know Bob Uecker didn't do any spring training games last year, but first game since Bob Uecker passed away. And it was a humbling listening and emotional, and listening to Lane and Jeff talk about their thoughts and their memories of Bob and how Bob Uecker's still here. And Jeff Levering did a great job of kind of giving his thoughts on, to start the game today when he welcomed everyone to the broadcast. I retweeted it from my X account. You can find it at Evan Witt Sports. You can also go to 620 WTMJ X Twitter page as well to give a listen to what Levering had to say prior to the Brewers game. But one of the big topics I've seen thrown around is, and it's basically been since Willie Adames left, is can Bryce Terang play short? The easy answer is yes. Yes, Bryce Terang can play short. He is a very gifted fielder, and he can definitely play short. But my question is why? Why would you move Bryce Terang, who is the best defensive second baseman in baseball? He is a Gold Glove winner, a Platinum Glove winner at second base, and he just started figuring out it with the bat. And I know his bat could be a little bit better, but overall he's starting to figure it out with the bat as well. Why would you potentially stunt his development to force him to have to play it's not really a new position per se. I know he's played it a little bit in the minors and whatnot, but why would you force him to play shortstop when he's a Platinum Glove winning second baseman? My opinion is keep him at second base and let him continue to develop as a second baseman. You have Joey Ortiz who can play short. You have other options, and I just think moving Bryce Terang from second base to short after he had his breakout year in 2024 could do a hindrance on this roster. That's my thought process there. And I guess a little annoyed, to be perfectly honest, of a combination of Mark Antonisio's comments this week and the people on how people kind of overreacted a little bit to what he said. He made the comment about, is my job to win is it my job to win the World Series, or my job to give you fun and exciting summer? And that's the quote that kind of went around, and that's the breaking Brewer news. So I guess I'm gonna not mention Antanasio here. John Heyman tweeted out just like 6-7 minutes ago, Mark Canha is going to the Brewers on a minor league deal with an MLB camp invite. And I know he can play outfield, he can play first base. My guess is that with Sal Frelick's injury, fracture in his shin after hitting a foul ball off his shin, my guess is that this is somebody who they feel can definitely get some at bats at first base and in the outfield with Blake Perkins out for at least till May. So that I guess I'll leave that there. And I welcome back Mark Canha, who did pretty well with the Brewers 2 years ago, and we'll see what he can do if he can make the major league roster out of spring training. And we'll see what he can do. But I do like the signing. I think it gives you another veteran presence on this roster, which is a pretty young roster overall. So, but moving on, and I guess I should mention the Talking Sports with Evan NFL Draft Talk you can find on YouTube. 3 episodes are up on my YouTube page, Talking Sports with Evan, and you can find them there easily. And if you can't find them too easily when you go, just click on playlists and you can find them. I was by myself last week talking some NFL. Sorry for about that. Talking some NFL draft. I was by myself last week, but I've had Newt Weston. I've had Jacob Westendorf, and then myself. And this week's going to be another edition of Talking Sports with Evan, NFL Draft Talk, which would be focused on the NFL Combine, and that'll be set to hit on Tuesday around the 12 o'clock Central Time hour. You can also find me on X at Evan with Sports, and also on Facebook at Talking Sports with Evan. Milwaukee Bucks. I mentioned Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis suspended 25 games earlier this week for testing positive for a banned substance, and apparently was violating the NBA's anti-drug policy. And he apparently took a pain medication that is on the banned substance list. Happened back in November-ish area. He took tramadol when he thought he was taking Toradol, according to a statement put out by his agent, and he's suspended 25 games. He's already served 1. He'll be back towards the end of the season, and it's very disappointing that Bobby Portis is pretty much done for the rest of the season. And I take what his agent says with a grain of salt, because the agent's job is always going to try to spin it with putting his athlete in the best light possible. But in reality, it's also a pretty honest mistake to make. Now, I guess there's a lot of questions we're never going to know the answers to, because where a lot of us are commenting about, well, why is he taking prescriptions that aren't prescribed to him? Well, we don't know if they're not, if they were, we just know they were prescribed medication. We don't know if they were prescribed to him or his assistant. He could have had a tramadol prescription in the past before it was put on the ban list, or maybe his assistant had a prescription for it and got medications mixed up. So I don't want to assume that the medication that Bobby was taking weren't directly prescribed to him, or he thought that they were directly prescribed to him. I get it. Could have talked to the team. And we don't know if he did talk to the team or not. He could have talked to the team and got the prescription from the team doctor for the Toradol. And like I said, mistakes happen, and his assistant gave him the wrong medication. Now, should he he's a big boy. Should he find his own medication and open up his own medication pill and take out his own medication and take his own medication and not have to depend on an assistant to give it to him? Well, yeah, I would say yes, he should be able to do that. But it's probably just one of these things that with being an NBA player, you got so much traveling going on, practices, and everything else in the life of an NBA player. He probably gave his assistant a lot of duties and responsibilities that ended up unfortunately biting him in the ass. I guess is the best way to put it. But it's a big loss for the Bucks. I know Bobby doesn't give you a lot defensively, and he's a very streaky player, but he gets a lot of points off the bench. He gets a lot of rebounds off the bench, and he brings a lot of energy off the bench. And that's where you're going to miss him quite a bit. You're going to miss him with the rebounding, you're going to miss him with the energy, and you're going to just miss that scoring threat off the bench that the Bucks are going to have a hard time finding now. With Kuzma in the starting lineup, with Giannis and Brook and Dame, and with those guys in the lineup, Gary Trent's been streaky, Prince has been streaky, AJ Green's been streaky. You have a lot of streaky guys on the bench, and even on Bobby's off nights, he was still guaranteed to almost get you a double-double every night. That's going to be a big loss, and I think the Bucks are going to finish fourth in the East right now. They are a half game behind the Indiana Pacers for the fourth seed. Pacers sit at 31-23, Bucks at 31-24 as of recording of this show. But I think the Bucks are going to finish with that fourth seed and likely play the Pacers in the first round. They do have an outside chance of catching the New York Knicks, but remember the Knicks have the tiebreakers over the Bucks. So the Bucks are going to have to not only catch the Knicks, but pass them in order to get the third seed in the Eastern Conference. But I think they'll finish with the fourth seed, take on the Pacers again in that 4-5 matchup, and hopefully they're healthy going into the playoffs. I'm going to talk more Milwaukee Bucks at a later date and time, but just wanted to give my thoughts on Bobby Portis and my thoughts with the Bucks moving forward slightly. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing effort-wise out of the Bucks. They came back down 13 or 14, maybe 15, and beat the Los Angeles Clippers. Jericho Sims finally got minutes against the Clippers, got minutes again against Washington, and he's showing some pretty good promise as a young center, 26-year-old center coming off the bench, shows some pretty good foot speed, and he's not afraid to set screens and help out his teammates, grab rebounds, and try to get his teammates involved. Basically, Jericho Sims knows what his role is, and it's not to be a scorer. And he's playing his role well. Kuzma, same thing. He knows what his role is with this team. He's hustling, getting rebounds, scoring points when he has to. And the last two games, the last two wins, Giannis has been on a minutes restriction, and he hasn't played in too many minutes the last two games, and I guess he fouled out yesterday. So, but it'll be interesting to see how the Bucks team continues to improve. They got younger. at the deadline. With Sims, as I mentioned, is 22. 26. Uh, you have Kuzma, who's younger than Middleton and more available, and you have Kevin Porter Jr., who is in his 20s as well. He's a not so nice person off the court, but on the court, he has been helping the Bucks so far get wins since the trade deadline. And I guess that's all you can ask for. Again, is he knows what his role is and he's executing it. So moving on, talked about Netflix and the NFL, and it kind of ties into my Major League Baseball and ESPN Major League Baseball breaking up at the end of the 2025 season. Kind of adds to that a little bit too. Netflix had outstanding success on Christmas Day having NFL games on Netflix. They've had a lot of success with WWE Raw. They had some buffering issues with the Paul Tyson fight, but again, lots of people signing up, downloading, and signing up Netflix on all their devices, their smart TVs, their iPads, their computers, their phone, whatever, and they had a lot of success. And now they saw what that success looks like, and now they want a bigger piece of the pie to the NFL. And they want to looks like broadcasting rights to the NFL. And looks like it might be a bidding war between Fox and CBS and Netflix. And I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of Netflix taking over for a Fox or a CBS. And I know I'm going to sound like a get off my lawn, old man yells a cloud situation here, but I don't like it. I think Netflix is fine with a game or two, that kind of thing. But you're forcing the consumer, so you're basically going to turn the NFL into a pay-per-view type system. I know streaming you pay a month, but just stay with me here. You're turning the NFL into a pay-per-view type situation. You've turned WWE Raw into a pay-per-view situation. Now, WWE was smart with Peacock and having their premium live events on Peacock for as little as $4.99 a month. You get a lot more eyes on your big events because people are going to spend $4.99 a month at minimum. I think it's $6.99 now, but anyway, you're going to spend the $4.99, $6.99 a month to watch WrestleMania as opposed to the I think $70 it was on pay-per-view before they kind of stopped with the pay-per-view format for WWE. But my concern is that you're going to basically keep a lot of your audience out. And I think it's actually going to hurt the NFL in the long run because it's going to be basically the haves and the have-nots and the people that can. And we're living in tough times right now with money being tight for lots of people out there, and expenses are just hard to come by for some people, and they're cutting costs here and there to try to afford some of some kinds of luxuries items such as what Netflix is. But you're going to be forcing people to pay. I think I pay $8.99 a month for Netflix in order to watch NFL games. And Amazon has their Thursday games where we have to pay a subscription to Amazon to watch. They have the Black Friday game. They've had Christmas Day games in the past. Again, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it kind of closes people out for being able to enjoy NFL football. And I know football thinks they're so big right now, it doesn't really matter, but it might start hurting them a little bit in the pocketbooks when people are going to get annoyed. They have to pay for a streaming service to watch Big Ten football and basketball with Peacock. Now I got to pay for Netflix to watch NFL games on Sunday. I got to have Amazon Prime to watch the NFL on Thursday. I got to have Amazon Prime to watch the Black Friday game for the NFL. I'm going to have Amazon pretty soon to watch the NBA. I have to have Netflix to watch WWE Raw. It's just you're going to be paying for a lot more for all these streaming services if you want to stay watching some of these games. And I know for me, living in Milwaukee, in the Milwaukee market, for the Packers, it doesn't matter if it's going to be on Amazon or on Hulu or Netflix or anything. Being in the Milwaukee market, I'm technically in the Packers home market, so I'm going to be able to watch the Packers every Sunday, Thursday, Monday, whatever day of the week it's on, because, like I said, I'm technically in that market, or I am in that market. So I don't have to pay for all those streaming services to watch the Packers. And with baseball, now the news is coming out that ESPN and Major League Baseball are separating and going their separate ways at the end of the 2025 season. And now who's going to have those broadcast rights? Is it going to be MLB Network, or is it going to be Netflix or Amazon? Amazon's going to be helping and working with the regional sports networks for a lot of teams, with Bally Sports, now FanDuel Sports, kind of going, having their financial issues. Are they going to want the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball every week? Is Netflix going to want it? And now baseball has already been struggling to get viewership. Now you're going to have people pay for that. But streaming used to be nice to have, as it was an alternative to having to pay a lot of money for cable that always seemed to go up every couple of months. And now all these streaming services are doing the exact same thing. My Hulu's got more expensive. YouTube TV, which I don't have anymore, that's got more expensive. Peacock's gotten more expensive. Netflix has gone up in price. And I think with buying all these rights for these sporting events, eventually their prices are going to have to go up in order to help pay for the broadcasting rights and fees. Well, I think that will do it for tonight's show. I got Bobby Portis discussed, Bryce Terang discussed, had some Brewer news to discuss that I wasn't expecting when I hit play. I've talked NBA and MLB TV deals and rights. So I think that should just about do it. I want to thank you all for tuning in to the live edition of Talking Sports with Evan. Appreciate each and every one of you. I will be back next week, both with my Talking Sports with Evan NFL Draft Talk, which I will focus strictly on the NFL Combine and give my thoughts on the Combine. As well as this week, I will bring you another edition of Talking Sports with Evan, where I'll talk some more NFL Combine and talk about whatever else is going on in the world of sports. With that said, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. This has been Talking Sports with Evan. I'll be back at you